And the company jumps when he plays reveille. He's the boogie-woogie bugle boy of Company B.
King Roast here, Mr. Thinker. Why not? Why not? You're here tonight. Why not? I'm glad you're here, but you know, sometimes she can be late as well because she lost her beer in her bathroom while taking a piss, but she'll find her way back here in 5 minutes. Oh, and that taser that you sent me, it definitely works. It definitely works, that taser you sent me. So, Lauren Whalen is here. Lauren Whalen. She decided to give up this, She decided to give up the stock market and come back to her friends after the show Roseanne went under.
What else? What other choice did I have?
Abby Rose! Abby, good to see you made it. You know, when you're not sinking my battleships on Sims and having me gargle salt water. I'm just kidding, Abby. You know I love you. But, you know, the man of the hour, Thinkerer himself, 89 years old. Damn, man.
Young.
I probably won't even make it to 50. But in all seriousness, think we are different generations and sometimes we disagree on our taste of comedy. What you've done for comedy in Second Life is nothing short of amazing. Love you, bro.
All right, did you see all these things that that Why Not put up all over the place? These are these wonderful sayings that are all over the place, like one, a clear conscience is usually a sign of a bad memory. I got one here. It's from Ricky Gervais. Ricky Gervais made one on, and it goes like this. It says, I actually don't mind the idea of being dead, because when you're dead, you're not aware of it. So being dead is kind of like being stupid. It's only painful for everyone around you.
Hey, that's good.
That's true, too, yeah.
Oh, a lot of truth to that. And with that, we're now going to hand things off to our next comedian. I believe Lauren Whalen is going to come up here and entertain us for a bit. So Lauren showed up. Yay, Lauren, yay!
We are talking with a very wise man here tonight, all right? He's very, very wise, and we love him so much. Oh, but I'm afraid that nostalgia isn't what it used to be. When it's not the pace of the life that you live that concerns me, it's the sudden stop at the end.
I'm not going to that.
Yeah, that's tough. You know, that's the tough one. I mean, you know, I don't think I'm ever going to make it to Thinkerer's position in life. He's so old that his first car was a covered wagon. Right? Yeah, I happen to know for a fact that George Washington was the one who cut down his Christmas tree. You know, Thinkerer is in such a position that he's got hieroglyphics on his driver's license. You know,
there you are.
He's so old, in fact, the first airport was the Wright brothers. He had to hold on to the wing for dear life. Okay, we'll move on. Okay. So he's so old, in fact, the key on Ben Franklin's kite was to his apartment.
Yes. What else we did?
That's, of course, Ben Franklin was a whore master. Yes, he was. He was indeed. Oh, he's a randy son of a gun. His name should have been RandyAllways Franklin. Okay. Your family tree, Thinkerer, it starts with you. You're the seed. All right. You're so old, in fact, you walked into an antique store and they kept you. Price tag on our Thinkerer. They wanted to sell him. Oh my God, you believe it? He actually bought his first car, first used car, as a matter of fact, from Fred Flintstone. Oh my God. When he was young, rainbows were still in black and white. In fact, his watch was a sundial. Oh, yes, we love Thinkerer. He's so wonderful. I'm so happy to be a part of this, I swear. I wish the real Lauren could come, but, you know, you'll have to do it with me. You know, I know, Thinkerer, that in your collection of things that you've got through all your life, you actually have an autographed Bible. In fact, there's fossils at your wedding anniversary. Oh, the candles, there's so many, they cost more than the birthday cake? Oh, yes, I would say this next one. I shouldn't say it, but I will. You're so old that you burp dust. Oh, that's. I'm glad you liked it, but I didn't thought it was kind of ill. I don't know. You're so old, Thinkerer, that your phone number is 3. Operator, give me number 3. 3. I want 3. I want to talk to Selby Evans. Okay. You're so old. Your social security number is 2.
Yeah.
All right. Your mom is so old. Her zip code is 0000001.
Yeah.
Oh, yes. You're getting so old. Your birth certificate, as we know, says expired on it. We don't want that. You know, honest to God, we don't want that to happen. That's why we're here today, because we love you, and we want to make sure that you know, that we know, that you know, that we know, that you know that you are loved by all of us.
Yay!
Yes, you're the most wonderful person in Second Life, and I'm still a noob. All right, I don't know anything, and I do know that ThinkererSelby Evans is the mightiest man in all of Second Life. Yes, indeed.
If one of the comedians who were up already told a joke that you were about to tell, don't worry about it. Just tell the joke anyway. By the time it gets to you, Thinker's not going to remember it.
Oh, that's mean.
Besides, we recycle jokes here all the time. We should be
Well, now let me point out that I am not forgetful. I have no problem with memory. I can't remember the last time I forgot something.
Well, as we bring up these comedians to roast our beloved Thinker, please, every performer, remember that what we do for love, good jest, and also please speak up. He might be a little hard of hearing. And whenever you get to Thinker's age, when you get to 89 years old, your brain's kind of like an Etch-a-Sketch. Just give it a shake, and it goes blank.
I wish I could do that now.
You know, I have other people's thoughts on old age. We could certainly slow the aging process down if it had to work its way through Congress, Will Rogers says. So true, yeah. Irma Bombeck says, the only reason I take up jogging so I can hear heaven again, and I'm kind of thinking I might, too. An archaeologist is the best husband that a woman can have. The older she gets, the more interested he'll be in her. Agatha Christie. I'm going to check the rings on my legs or whatever. George Burns says old age is when you resent the swimsuit issue of Sports Illustrated because there are fewer articles to read. Woody Allen says, I don't want to achieve immortality through my work. I want to achieve it through not dying. All right. You know, Will Rogers says, if you're dissatisfied and you want to go back to your youth, just remember algebra. Actually, geometry was my downfall. Phyllis Diller said, I'm at an age when my back goes out more than I do, and I'm prone to agree with her. Yeah, P.G. Wodehouse says there's only one cure for gray hair, I think. It was invented by a Frenchman, and it's called a guillotine.
Monsieur le Guillotine.
Rita Rudner says, my grandma was a really tough woman. She buried 3 husbands, and 2 of them were just napping. So watch out. Gotta watch out for the women and that old folks home there, buddy. And George Burns says, at my age, flowers scare me. I don't want to be sent flowers. Rodney Dangerfield, here's yours, Randy. I'm at the age where food's taken the place of sex in my life. In fact, I just had a mirror put over my kitchen table. The stockbroker urged me to buy stock that would triple its value every year, and I told him, at my age, I don't even buy green bananas, Claude Pepper says. Yeah, George Burns says, he's sold when he orders a 3-minute egg. They ask for money up front. They don't. That diner is so mean to him. But, you know, Phyllis had some good advice. Phyllis Diller said, when Whatever you look like, just marry a man your own age. As your beauty fades, so will his eyesight. And Billy Crystal says by the time a man's wise enough to watch his step, he's too old to go anywhere. There's no pleasure worth foregoing just for an extra 3 years in a geriatric ward. Remember that, everybody here. Come on. Do it. Do it while you can.
Oh, gosh.
Yeah.
Bob Hope said middle age is when you still believe you're going to feel better in the morning. Oh, well. Irma Bombeck says people shop for a bathing suit with more care than they do a husband or a wife. The rules are the same. Look for something you're going to feel comfortable wearing and allow for room to grow. Jerry Seinfeld says, you know you're getting old when that one candle on the cake is there and you say, see if you can blow this out. People ask me what I most appreciate getting for my 87th birthday, and George Burns says, I tell him I'd like a paternity suit. Oh boy, no, I'm still doing it. And my last is Joan Rivers. Talk about getting old. I was getting dressed and a peeping Tom looked in the window, took a look and pulled down the shade.
And Kara wanted to give Thinkerer a book called The Joy of Sex, and I told her, well, you better get some crayons too, so he can color. Kara really likes Thinkerer so much. The other night she cornered him in a bingo hall and tried to do a number on him. Speaking of Kara, Kara's still here. Kara wants to do a bit of roasting, so Kara, get up here, please.
Oh, yes, definitely.
Kara.
Yay,
KaraBella.
Oh, my God. That was awesome.
That's you.
This story it's not so funny. It's just a story about how Thinker and I met and our relationship with one another and how special he's become in my life. I wish a very happy birthday. Most of you don't know this, but I've been a Thinker's girl for almost 3 years now, and I'm just as in love with him now as I was the first time I saw him. We kept our affair, silent due to his work in the government agencies that he's employed by. I'll never forget the first time I saw this delicious man sitting on the rafters of Lauren's place looking very devil-may-care and his little crooked grin, and he was dressed in a t-shirt that says I love Lauren on it. Anyway, there he sat, so handsome and debonair in his white tennis shoes and his little white socks there, and I knew right then I just had to make him mine. So I stumbled my way up to the rafters, and somehow I got up the courage to speak to him, and I opened with nice socks, and he apparently was surprised to find that I shared such a good sense of fashion and that I was up to date in the latest trends, Anyway, I know he thought that was a natural conversation due to how smoothly, I delivered my line. But he gave me a little quizzical look, and then he said thank you, and immediately he got up to give me some more room on the rafters, which I thought was very kind, how considerate. And he winked at me and said he had something in his eye, and he ran off to the other side of the room to solve some sort of emergency. I don't know what it was. Then the next time I saw him, he had on the same t-shirt. I was immediately jealous of Lauren. Just to be honest with you guys, I was totally jealous of Lauren. And I tried to get him to change the shirt to say, I love Bella. And he mumbled something about in your screams and anyway, so I asked him for his phone number. But unfortunately, he said he couldn't give the stalkers his phone number. And I don't know who the stalkers are, but apparently they don't get along very well. And even his good friends that I asked, I asked them for his phone number, and they said they didn't give his number to the stalkers either. And I'm sure no one must really have his number if I don't, but so I never did get his number. Well, one day I did. One day I got really lucky, and one of his friends gave me his number. but I'm sure they got a few of the numbers revised due to the operator that answered the phone announced, "Stalkers are us. If you're a stalker, please press 1." Well, of course I hung up. I was no stalker. I wanted nothing to do with those stalkers. Anyway, it brings us up to tonight. And here we, Thinker and I, have decided to let you know of our undying love for one another. Yeah, I know. He gave me his okay signal to let the cat out of the bag with one of those famous winks of his when I sat down on the cake and frosting went all over his face. Of course, he said again he had something in his eye. Anyway, I just wanted to say, happy birthday, darling Thinker. I wish you many, many, many more birthdays. And thank you all for having my man and myself here tonight, and all of you that have put so much work into doing such a wonderful thing. I know you all work so hard. And Thinker and I just want to give you our love, and we're going to name our firstborn children after all of you. We plan on having a very big family.
Gonna be a long name.
Very big family. Yes.
We make fun of Thinker, but Thinker has always been supportive of us. Particularly, he's always been supportive of me. He really likes my news segments. Yeah, that's one of my favorite things he does. But
He's only
Vita, of course,
grunting.
he doesn't realize
Hey,
I
wait, he's
steal
only
most of my
grunting.
news material from late-night talk shows.
Only grunting.
Yeah, and I never worry about him. Was that Thinker catching on to it, because he's in bed long before any of those shows come on. Yeah. Last time Thinker stayed up that late, Johnny Carson was telling jokes about JFK's infidelity.
Oh my God.
All right.
Yeah, I think I've gotten away with it, but unfortunately, when they make the jokes about Trump's infidelity, it turns out to be the same joke.
Oh,
It's like, wait a minute, I've heard this before. By the way, speaking of infidelity, I think though before Thinker ran into KaraBella, the last time he ran into a woman that was going, "Oh God, oh God, oh God," she thought that she ran into George Burns. Remember that movie? Oh God, with George Burns. Yeah.
Oh,
Okay.
No, that's
Now,
a good
let's see,
one.
what else
That's
we
a
got
real
here?
good
Thinker does an awful lot of work in virtual reality. We all know this. He works for Virtual Worlds, and in both inside and outside Second Life, he's done much work promoting the use of entering virtual reality in a web browser. And now that that may seem a bit primitive by our standards, but the closest thing Thinker ever had to virtual reality before Second Life was a puppet show and a vaudeville act. Think about that. I mean, those vaudeville puppet acts they were very crude, primitive humor of performing characters using silly voices, whacking each other with sticks, and having very simple two-dimensional performances that really only appeal to an immature audience. So I guess nothing's really changed in that regard.
Yes.
Yeah.
Here we are.
Yeah.
Laugh about yourselves, folks.
Yeah.
hasn't even begun yet.
Well, anyway, let me tell you about the things that have changed. When Thinkerer was first a fan of stand-up comedy, it was because Phyllis Diller was a hot young thing, right? And you remember
she was a
Zaza
hot
Gabor,
old thing,
frequent
too.
guest on Laugh-In. By the time that came around, she was only on her 5th husband.
Mhm.
Right? She was still pretty hot. Yeah.
Only?
Oh,
And of
yeah.
course, Phyllis Diller's husband Fang, back in those days, still had most of his baby teeth. Yeah. But over the years, Thinker has actually built himself quite an education. He even taught in some colleges as a professor, I believe. He once told me that he has degrees from Paris, Vienna, and Rome. Here we go. Paris at 68 degrees, Vienna at 58 degrees, Rome at 70 yeah. So in college, Thinkerer taught optical sciences. He taught it was easy, but it turned out to be hard. Get it? Taught it was easy, turned out to be hard. I'm sorry.
Nope.
All right.
That's
Now, one of the problems of getting older is that when you go to the doctor and tell them it hurts when you do that, of course, they tell you don't do that. But the problem is that just keeps building and building till eventually you can't do anything. Right? And the last time you go to the doctor, you say, doctor, I can't piss anymore. And the doctor asks, well, how old are you? And Thinker would say 89, and the doctor will say, don't worry, you've pissed enough. And with that, we'll now wrap things up. Thank you for coming, everybody.
Always
Yay!
sitting
I'm going to
there.
say goodnight.
Good job
Happy
hosting.
birthday, Thinkerer. Yeah.
Oh, it looks like Thinkerer is already gone. But you know what? He's so old. He drove a stagecoach to work. You know, yeah, he was there at Jesus' wedding. His dishwasher was a pet dinosaur. Fred Flintstone. Oh boy, everybody remembers Fred. Yeah, Wilma. You know, I told him once to act his age, and he traded in his car for a wheelchair. Oh boy, what a guy! What a guy!